With a wrestling star having passed and WWE criticized for bringing back a star for the Royal Rumble, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for January 8th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. With it revealed on Smackdown that Summer Rae would be returning to WWE to compete in the Women's Royal Rumble, she went on social media to react. Okay, so obviously I can't sleep. I've been on Twitter, and I'm so overwhelmed by the amazing response on Twitter by you guys. Oh my gosh, like, we weren't even supposed to announce that I was going to be in the Rumble. It was going to be a surprise, and then I found out a couple of hours ago. So I was really nervous to look on Twitter, because people are mean. Like, people just be mean on Twitter, and the response, everyone was so nice. You guys have me in my feels. Everyone's so hyped. I don't know. I've just been gone so long that I didn't know what the response would be like. I didn't know if it'd be positive or negative, and it's just so good. Thank you so much. All my friends are being so supportive, and just the fans like Wrestled Twitter's just insane, and I'm just so excited. And now I'm happy that I don't have to keep this a surprise until the end of the month. Following his win of the WWE title at Day 1, Brock Lesnar has made history with the Wrestling Observer newsletter, noting Lesnar's previous unplanned championship reign makes it a 20-year span from where he first held the WWF/WWE title, 2002 to 2022. That is a record, breaking the mark of 18 for Hulk Hogan 1984 to 2002, and 17 for Bob Backlund 1977 to 1994 for the title. While people think of Bruno Sammartino holding the title forever, because his runs were uninterrupted for so long, his time frame was from 1963 to 1977, or 14 years. Now that Bobby Lashley is the #1 contender to the WWE title, we should see him face the champion Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble on the 29th. Given AEW's roster growth, there are not as many spots for talent to be on programming, with wrestlers having to be rotated off TV. On his podcast, Ric Flair took a shot at the company for giving their stars too much time off, specifically following a loss in a big match. Well, you can become a star for a short period of time, but to me, especially if you've just lost a big match, you need to be back on it the next day. Unfortunately, I think today some of the kids, when they get a match where it's a big finale, they want time off. I don't agree with that either. I think they need to be on TV, the stars that want to be the players. It's the same 10 people right now in WWE that it was 5 years ago. It's good, and that's how you build your brand. With former AEW star Big Swole saying that there is work to be done in the promotion when it comes to diversity, Tony Khan would react and even take a shot at Swole's wrestling abilities. On her podcast, Swole opened up on the AEW president's reaction, saying, "When I read the TK tweet, it was not necessarily sent to me, but I got a text message saying, 'Do not respond to him, it's not worth it.' At that time, I was already a little zooted because it was about to be New Year's. I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is a lot. Overall, I'm very disappointed. A person with that pedigree should know how to respond in a way that doesn't come off in the most negative way possible. I was very disappointed, embarrassed even, embarrassed for the people that are there. I really couldn't believe it. Did he even listen to the podcast? Obviously not, because it went completely off the rails. You went completely to counting brown people. If it was truly about counting brown people, it would be naming certain demographics. Speaking about this controversy, Mark Henry noted on Busted Open Radio that I feel like Tony got a really raw deal by what was said by Swole, but also what was said about all these people jumping on the bandwagon and they didn't know what the hell happened. They just took a side because somebody said something about diversity, which they implied it being race. Let's break it down real quick as far as diversity. You start talking about diversity in the work sector at AEW. Tony Khan is a man of color, and so is, and when I say a man of color, he's not black. Black is a person of color. You have Asian, you have Pan, you have the Indian influence, you have the Middle Eastern influence, the Spanish influence in the company. You talk about a diverse workplace. Man, that place has got everything. And I feel like the people in power, the highest ranking officers are Tony and Mega. And then you have people like myself and Sean Dean, who are both African American people of color, that are working in the office. So you mean to tell me that those people don't count as being diverse? Jake the Snake Roberts is one of the most famous wrestlers, known for his brutal finishing move, the DDT. Talking about how he came up with the move and if he had issues with it being used as a transitional move as opposed to a finish, Roberts said on the DDP Snake Pit podcast, "I was wrestling a guy by the name of Lynn Denton, the grappler, probably one of the great hands I ever got in the ring with. He was just phenomenal. He should have gotten a whole lot more than he ever did. But because we were wrestling in Louisiana in those days, we were the semi, and of course, Junkyard Dog and Bill Watts were the main events. Normally, they would be out of their match before he ever got our boots off. They'd go 5 minutes, and we'd go 40. So we had to go out there, put some time in and work. We used to do a little thing with a front face lock, where I'd front face lock him and work on him, and work on him and work on him, and turn him over and try to pin him. 1, 2, oh, he kicks out. Go back to the face lock. Back in those days, you always went back to the holds, keep wrestling. So he had finally fought his way to his feet, and out of desperation, he crammed me into the corner, tried to get loose. Back in those days, my finish was a knee lift, so I cranked his neck some more, and I fight him back into the middle of the ring, and the people loved it. I'd take him down to the mat, then he'd come up again and cram me in the corner again. Well, the third time, what we would do is I would let go, and he would stagger backward, still bent over, and I would catch him with a knee lift, a short one, and he would take a bump near the ropes. I'd cover him 1, 2, oh, foot on the ropes. Holy hell. Great deal. We put in 10 minutes doing that. One night in New Orleans, he crammed me in the corner, fought him back out of the middle of the ring. He came up to his feet, started cramming me into a corner again, and he stepped on my foot. And when he did, I couldn't move my legs. We lost balance. Well, me being a dumb babyface at the time, I sprung to my feet. Like, I didn't trip, I didn't fall, I'm not clumsy, but Grappler stayed down. And I'm listening to the people, and the people were like, "Oh, what was that?" And I'm like, "What was what? I just fell down." What a huge pop, man. He was smart enough to stay there. I turned him over to cover him, and he barely kicked out. But the people were talking about that move. People often ask me, "Well, Jake, don't you get mad at these guys who are using the DDT now for a false finish?" And I'm like, no, I think it's great, because all they're telling the people is that they're not half as good as I am. Because if I did it, you didn't get your ass back up. With WWE releasing many of Triple H's confidants such as William Regal, Samoa Joe, Road Dogg, and more, Ringside News reported that these cuts were a personal shot at the game. It would even be noted that these releases led to many stars feeling depressed. As PW Torch has now added to this noting, I've talked with people who had said Triple H was building his team that he would bring with him to the main roster, and if his day came to run the main roster, he wanted his group of people. At some point, it was thought that it would include William Regal and Gabe Sapolsky and Road Dogg, and they're gone. NXT just isn't what it once was. I've heard just a little about Triple H's reaction to all of this, and nothing super reportable other than it sounds like he's bummed out. Speaking of Road Dogg's WWE release, he would take to Twitter last night to say, "Just wanted to let everyone know that I will start taking bookings after February 8th. Email bookroaddogg@gmail.com. I will only be doing appearances and seminars. The DOGG will not be lacing the boots up. Thank you for all the love and support." Prior to this, a reunion between himself and Billy Gunn was announced, with Squared Circle Expo noting, "Appearing courtesy of Prestige Management, it is our pleasure to announce the addition of Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws, to the guest roster for SCX2 happening April 15th to the 16th at the Wyndham Indianapolis West in Indianapolis, Indiana." With WWE announcing that the Impact Knockouts champion Mickie James would be coming back to the promotion for the Women's Royal Rumble, Dutch Mantel would drag the company on his podcast, saying, "I think they wanted Mickie James, and she is not signed to anything with them, right? She is not on contract for a year or anything of that sort. I believe WWE just needs some names in there, but they get rid of these people and then they say, wow, wish she was still here now. We would have someone to go to," forgetting that if she had stayed, they would have killed her off anyway. This company is just difficult to figure out. A lot of the stuff they do makes absolutely no sense. Impact executive Scott D'Amore would react to WWE's announcement on Twitter, writing, well. Congrats to Impact Wrestling's Knockouts World Champion Mickie James, and congrats to WWE for finally walking through the forbidden door. Welcome to the party. See what Hard to Kill tomorrow on Fight TV. Mickie James is Impact Wrestling's blessing to carry the Knockouts World title belt into the Royal Rumble. And as you saw, WWE respects her as a world champion, but Mickie has to get by Deonna Purrazzo at Hard to Kill tomorrow, or she goes to the Rumble 6 pounds pounds lighter. The Impact Wrestling Twitter account would also add, "Wow, if Mickie James defeats Deonna Purrazzo at Hard to Kill on Fight TV tomorrow night, she walks into the WWE Royal Rumble with the Impact Knockouts World Title belt." In the last 12 months, Impact has worked with AEW, NWA, New Japan, AAA, WWE, and tomorrow at Hard to Kill, the Ring of Honor World Title will be defended in an Impact ring. As it looks like they're set to make their move to the main roster, NXT stars Tommaso Ciampa and Pete Dunne faced off in a dark match on last night's Smackdown, with Dunne only having one televised match since War Games and Ciampa recently dropping the NXT belt to Braun Breaker. We should hopefully see them become full-time main roster stars soon. In some unfortunate news, Deanna Brewer, known to Glow fans as Matilda the Hun, had been suffering from health issues and spent time in the hospital. Now, PW Insider reported that she has passed away at the age of 70. With her standing at 6 feet 3 inches tall and weighing 315 pounds, she was a menace in the ring. She was even a collegiate wrestler, as she talked about this experience on her website, noting that the boys on the team were afraid of her. "The grappling grabbed my mind and body. I decided to enroll in the beginning class. At first I was laughed at, and the coach told me a woman did not belong in that class. I threatened to report him to the ERA. He reluctantly let me join. After a few months, I started to show great promise. I started running and lifting weights and practiced countless drills. Then one day I pinned the wrestling captain. Then all the boys became afraid of me. Often they would lose because my boob in their face would throw them totally off guard, or a very embarrassing bulge in their shorts would arise after an illegal crotch hold. I started winning matches by default. Of course, we wish her family all the best during this time." And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.